Every man in our family, JT, were alcoholics.
Wow.
My granddad and my great-granddad both signed up for the First World War. And they went through the carnage of Flanders fields in France.
Yeah.
And they both came back from the First World War. My grandfather was wounded in his back and shoulder with shrapnel. My grandfather lost his mind, PTSD is what they call it these days. Yeah. He never would sleep inside a building. He always went outside to sleep because he was scared the Germans would bomb where he was sleeping. That's the impact it had. And so we were the drunkards of our town.
Okay.
The Camerons were a bunch of alcoholics, not social drinkers. We were the guys that you saw on a Monday morning when you were going back to your house, still drunk from the weekend benders. And my grandfather was a town drunk.
And this is in Scotland?
This is in Scotland.
Okay.
And two young preachers, my uncle, my dad's oldest brother, Michael, was up in the north. This is now the Second World War. And he was up in an island off the north of Scotland called Stroma Island. It's about a mile off the mainland. And an American boat had been torpedoed by the Nazis and beached on this island. And he was part of this crew that went up to salvage the boat because the metal was so important to make ammo and guns, etc., to recycle it.
Yeah.
And he was 19, a total drunk, just terrorized these folks. And these poor Calvinistic people, that these lowlanders came up to break this boat, and they drank and they swore and smoked, and none of these folk had ever seen this. And so, on the weekends, he went across from Stroma Island to the mainland, and there was a bus station, which was also a tea room.
Okay.
And you pick up the bus and go to Wick, which is the largest town, and you get drunk in the bar there.
Okay.
And then come back and carry whatever booze you didn't drink back to the island, and continue this terror campaign against these poor souls.
Whoa.
And so one particular weekend, he got to the mainland, was sitting in this little tea room waiting for the bus to come, and he ordered a cup of tea, and between the salt and pepper shakers, there was a piece of paper standing on its edge. So he picked up the piece of paper, and he read these words: "For God so loved the world, that he gave his only begotten Son, that whosoever believeth in him should not perish, but have everlasting life." And the Holy Ghost smote him in this cafe. He had never been in church, had never read a Bible, didn't know what a Bible was, had never heard the gospel. One verse of the Bible. The waitress came with his tea, and she'd put the gospel tract between the salt and pepper shaker. That was her way of witnessing. And this young man is holding this piece of paper, weeping. And she came up and she says, "Son, are you saved?" And he didn't know what saved meant, but he knew, being fisher people, that if you fall out of a boat, you can be saved.
Right.
And he looked up and he says, "Aye." He says, "I'm saved." He says, "What are these words?" She says, "That's the Bible, son." She says, that God wrote a book to the world. And that's one of the verses. He says, "Well, where can I get these Bibles?" She says, "Well, if you go on the bus and go up to Wick, there's a book room in the bottom of the Kirk of Scotland, the Church of Scotland church. And you can go in there, they've got Bibles there." So he got on the bus, found the church, went down in the basement, put all his wages on the desk and said, "How many Bibles will this money buy?" And the lady gave all the Bibles to him, and he went back in the bus, went back to where the tea room was, where the guy was that rode you back to the island, went across the island and walked around that island and knocked on every single door in that island and said, "I was over," you could see the tea room from the island. Yeah. He said, "I was over in that tea room and I met a man called Jesus. And he changed my life, and he gave everybody in the island a Bible."